Kieran, we'll finish with this. Chelsea, if anyone needed a win at the weekend, it was Graham Potter and Chelsea. They got it. They beat Leeds by a 1-0. What does that tell us? Graham Potter was understandably happy to get 3 points.
Well, we're delighted with the win, that's for sure, because we've had a tough period. Delighted for the players, delighted for the supporters, because they've had to suffer. So it was pleasing to get the win. So in the end, it's really good for the players to keep a clean sheet, to win a game, and to have that feeling. It's nice.
Martin, I bet it's nice, because before that, they'd managed to rack up 2 wins in 15 games. This is Chelsea, remember?
Incredible.
Who spent like some other countries' national debt in the last window. 2 wins in 15 games. So you can hardly say that 1-0 against Leeds is turning a corner, can you?
No, but it's a start, and it was badly needed, and it was a result, as the owner said, and I don't think anybody would have ever expected Potter to have ended up in this gym. Really young, aspiring coach, outstanding in his job at Brighton, an array of riches he doesn't seem to know really whether to fathom out. But maybe that was the first step at the weekend. Went back to a back three. It was something that I was looking at, thinking, really, I think that's what you need to do. This group of players under Tuchel played in this manner for such a long time, Jim. Played with a back three system. It's so many changes every week. Fofana coming into the team, scoring an important goal for them. I think that's great news to get him back in there, Jim. And he now needs to build from here. Start to build. Important Champions League game coming up tomorrow, is it? So they really need
tomorrow
to.
Night, yeah, they
really need to
night.
now build upon this, Jim, and put a smile back on the faces and work from there. It sounds like he has the confidence of the owner. Don't think they're looking to make any changes. You'd have done it by now. Because you know how they are at Chelsea. It doesn't matter who's in charge, but that's a very first step, important step. But they've got to build on it. Got to keep winning.
I mean, one of the members of the top brass at Chelsea told us the other day, Simon. I got a text, and I think I've shown you it. You know, to part with Graham Potter at this time, this was a fortnight ago, would be a backwards, not a forward step in their view, because he's their pick, he's in, and they back him. But you have to think, if they go out of the Champions League at the last 16 second leg stage, they trail 1-0 to Dortmund. What's left for them this season?
Well, not a lot on paper. I mean, the objective and aim is to bring a manager in to improve your team, not to bring the manager in so you can improve him. I mean, that seems to be cart in front of the horse. I think if they'd have lost to Leeds and lost to Dortmund, then they'd have been in real trouble. And I think the problem for Graham Potter is he's giving his owner more problems than solutions, and unless he changes that dynamic, then he will reap the whirlwind and the consequences of it. And you can sit there and you can double down on the perspective that I brought someone in because I've got a longer term view. And one thing we can argue with Chelsea is the economics of not being in the Champions League ain't going to change their landscape.
True.
If they don't get 60 million quid, if they're going to go spend 600 million pound on players, they'll swallow not being in the Champions League for 60, 70 million quid. They'll get on with that. But what's the point? The point of doubling down on a manager that, in my mindset, hasn't settled at Chelsea very well, doesn't know the lay of the land, isn't capable at this moment in time of managing elite-level players, and is finding it difficult to bridge all the different gaps. I understand that if someone makes death threats against you and you've got issues and challenges with managing a team, maybe you should verbalise it. I'm not in that camp. I think you lead as leads, and I think you have to overcome these adversities. And I think Potter has played all these things out. Do I think he's a good coach? Yes, I do. Do I think he's a good enough coach to get Chelsea to the promised land? No, I don't. So on that basis, I look at it and say, what an exercise.
It's about
time wasting.
rebuilding reputation for him now, isn't it? Because you can't really see, Jim, that he can make it to the top four. I mean, the number of points they are behind, what is it, 8 points behind Liverpool? They do play Liverpool, by the way, coming up, not too Leicester next. So there are games that they would like to think now they could go on and win, but there's been no consistency. They've not really had any signs of improvement from Chelsea. So why should we believe that's going to happen now? I do like the look of Felix, though, the only player they haven't signed. Wonderful player. There's great players there, Jim. Some of the new signings now, interesting that they're not actually featuring some of the players that they bought and who is really good enough and who really did buy those players and bring them in.
Which is incredible after a £600 million spend, isn't it?
Well, I mean, Felix is on loan. Sterling now was already in situ. Chilwell's back in the side. Loftus-Cheek has made it back into the team ahead of some of these very expensive signings. Badarashil is probably the only one you've looked at recently and thought, okay, he's worth putting in the side. Koulibaly now for Fafana finally making it into the team together.
It'll be fascinating if Todd Boehly, with Bowleynomics, follows through the same logic of flying in the face of football mythology. You don't care about how much he pays for players. You don't care what contract level he puts them on. You don't care about managers that have got a history of track records that are worthy of something. He cares about the way he wants to do things. If that logic prevails, then he'll bite down on the gum shield and he'll give Graham Potter as long as he thinks he needs to achieve something. That's a very different set of dynamics than has ever been done before, because most time conventional wisdom comes to the fore. You can buck the system some of the time, but you can't buck it all of the time.
Yeah.
And he's bucking it all the time.
Jim, this has got to work though, because if it doesn't work, it can only be disaster for Chelsea. When you think of the length of time that these players, the years they're on these contracts for.
Well, I mean, we were told by
plenty of money.
You won't find it hard to believe it was an American who told us that the ownership are not here to screw around, and I'm quite sure that they're not. You two played very nicely with each other today, and we all want to thank you for that. There was no jibes about how many games Martin played in that.
You were listening to him as usual.
Well, yeah, but I didn't want to get involved in it because I thought feathers and dust might start flying again.
I don't know how you dare. You're the biggest wind-up merchant on the planet. You get everybody at it, and then you run away gaslighting and go, how could they have possibly reacted that way?
I want peace and tranquility in this studio, and we got it.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.